Okay, think about all the devices you connected just today. Maybe your headphones, right? Your smart TV, that gaming console you use, or even, the huge sound system at a concert if you've been to one recently. There's this hidden, almost invisible industry making all that possible, making sure everything plugs into everything else. We're talking everything from like the HDMI cables for your 4K TV, those robust XLR connectors you see professionals use for sound systems, even the tiny little ribbon cables inside your phone connecting this screen. It's this silent but absolutely essential backbone to our digital lives. Welcome to our deep dive into the, well, frankly fascinating and surprisingly profitable world of the global audio and video connectors market. Today, we're going to be dissecting insights from a pretty comprehensive market research forecast. It covers 2021 right through to 2033. And our mission really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge from this very data-heavy report, figure out where the growth is happening, what's actually driving it, and maybe most importantly, what it means for you. So yeah, prepare for some perhaps surprising facts and hopefully a clearer understanding of this often overlooked yet totally essential piece of our tech landscape. So to put that in perspective then, how massive is this often overlooked market globally? And I mean, why should we really be paying attention to something like audio-video connectors?
Yeah, it's truly remarkable when you think about it, how these, seemingly simple components are directly tied to some of the biggest trends in how we consume media and interact with technology every single day. So, numbers-wise, this market globally was valued at roughly $16.6 billion. That was back in 2021. And it's definitely not slowing down. It's projected to reach just over $20.1 billion by 2025. And the forecast for 2033, it's hitting an impressive $29.3 billion, which reflects a really solid compound annual growth rate, it's CAGR, of just over 4.8% globally.
Okay, 4.8% CIGR globally. That's steady growth.
It is. And these numbers, they aren't just figures pulled out of thin air, right? They're driven by things we see every day. The huge surge in demand for digital streaming, for instance, the sheer proliferation of entertainment devices in our homes, things smart TVs, soundbars, gaming consoles, you name it. Also, the expansion of automotive infotainment systems in our cars. That's a big one. And, of course, an increasing need for professional AV equipment in venues, businesses, everywhere, really.
Right. Like you were saying, the concerts, but also maybe conference rooms, broadcast studios.
Exactly. Think about the sheer complexity involved in connecting all the screens and speakers for, say, a major sports arena or a live broadcast studio. It's not just plugging things in. It's this intricate ecosystem where every single connection needs to be absolutely flawlessly reliable. And that complexity kind of paradoxically drives massive demand for these very precise little components.
Huh. So it sounds like these, yeah, relatively simple components are just absolutely central to our connected world. Okay, so the global picture seems clear, solid growth. But I'm genuinely curious now, is this growth happening kind of uniformly everywhere? Or are there specific regional stories that, jump out when you look at the data?
That's an excellent point. And yeah, the data paints a very interesting regional picture. It's definitely not uniform growth. And it does raise an important question. What makes certain countries or regions accelerate faster than others? If you look at Asia Pacific or APAC, that region is showing incredibly high momentum. It was already a leader with nearly $6 billion in revenue back in 2021, and it's projected to surge to over $11.2 billion by 2033. That's leading globally with a CAGR of almost 5.5%.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge jump. What's driving that kind of growth in APAC specifically? Is it just scale?
Well, scale is part of it, definitely. Within APAC, China shows really strong growth. It's projected to more than double its market size by 2033, with a solid growth rate nearing 5.7%. But the true standout really is India. It's showing the highest TAGR across the board, over 6.3%.
6.3%.
Yeah, it's effectively set to more than double its market value by 2033. And India's growth, it isn't just about more people getting online. There seems to be this unique leapfrogging effect happening where new users are often bypassing traditional infrastructure, maybe skipping laptops and desktops, jumping straight to mobile-first digital consumption.
Ah, I see. So straight to smartphones and tablets.
Exactly. And this creates this, well, exponential demand for the underlying connection hardware. It almost makes India kind of bellwether for future digital market models. We also see other notable mentions in the region, like Singapore and Southeast Asia generally, showing rapid adoption in higher KDGRs, also getting close to that 6% mark.
That staggering 6.3% CAGR for India really does jump out. Beyond the sort of general points about digital infrastructure and mobile first, is there maybe one specific, perhaps unexpected factor you think is propelling India's connector market at such an incredible rate, even compared to China?
That's a good question. Beyond the obvious, like population and rising incomes, I'd probably point to the explosion of local content creation and consumption in India. Think about the sheer volume of regional language streaming services, YouTube creators, all those short form video platforms.
Right, there's a huge amount of that.
An enormous amount. And each piece of content created and consumed, often on mobile devices that people upgrade or repair frequently. Well, each one requires these connectors, so it becomes this sort of self-reinforcing cycle. Creation drives consumption, and both demand robust connection infrastructure. It feeds itself.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's certainly an impressive trajectory for APAC. But how do North America and Europe stack up against that kind of momentum? Are they still major players, or are we seeing a big shift in global dominance?
Oh, they're definitely still major players. North America remains a significant player, absolutely. Though its growth rate is, let's say, more mature, it reflects a well-established market. Its revenue was almost $4.9 billion in 2021, and it's projected to reach over $8 billion by 2033. That comes out to a CAGR of about 4.2%. The United States, unsurprisingly, dominates the region, accounting for the vast majority of that market.
Okay, so still growing, but not quite the APAC rate.
Exactly. Interestingly, though, Canada shows a slightly stronger AGIGR, just over 5%, which suggests, faster relative growth, albeit from a smaller starting base.
And Europe.
Europe, meanwhile, shows varied yet steady growth. Its market was around $3.6 billion in 2021. It's forecasted to expand to nearly $6 billion by 2033, which is about a 4.38% CAGR overall. Within Europe, Germany shows quite robust growth, actually, with a CAGR over 5%, whereas France, for example, progresses at a slightly slower pace, around 3.8% CAGR. So yeah, while not as explosive perhaps as parts of APAC, these are still very substantial and growing markets.
It does sound like it. So following that thread then, what about the Middle East and Africa? Are they mirroring these kinds of growth patterns, or are there maybe distinct factors at play in those regions?
They absolutely are showing growth, and they're definitely emerging centers worth watching. Take South America, for example. It's projected to grow from just over $1 billion in 2021 to more than $1.8 billion by 2033. That's a solid 5.1% CAGR. And that seems to be largely driven by a growing consumer electronics market, plus expanding broadcasting infrastructure across the continent. Brazil is leading the charge there regionally.
Okay, so over 5% for South America. And the Middle East?
The Middle East's market was estimated at roughly $650 million back in 2021. It's expected to rise to nearly $1.2 billion by 2033, with a strong CAGR of just over 5%, so similar growth rate. And the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, is actually leading the region's CAGR at an impressive 5.7%, so that's nearly doubling its market by 2033.
Wow, okay, the UAE is really punching above its weight there.
It seems so, yeah. And then in Africa, the market was valued at over $583 million in 2021. It's forecasted to grow to over $1 billion by 2033, which works at about a 4.4% CAGR. South Africa is the dominant country here, with a CAGR nearing 5%. So if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how different factors are at play. Everything from rising incomes, letting people buy more consumer electronics, to these massive infrastructure projects like 5G rollouts. They're all fueling these specific regional growth. So while, yes, the Middle East and Africa are smaller in absolute dollar terms compared to APAC or North America, they show really strong relative growth, driven by these foundational investments and increasing digital adoption.
This whole deep dive has really shown us, I think, that these audio-video connectors are far more than just simple cables. They really are vital components enabling our digital lives. So what's the core takeaway? What's the main thing you want the listener to grasp from all this data we've been through?
Yeah, I think the core thing is just how incredible it is that these seemingly invisible, often tiny components are absolutely foundational to our entire connected world. Like you said, it isn't just about plugging in a TV anymore. It's about enabling streaming, sure, but also smart cities, immersive entertainment experiences, the future of communication itself. So critical thinking here means understanding that this seemingly small market is actually a pretty good barometer for broader technological and economic shifts, that global growth we talked about. It's steadily driven by this ongoing digital transformation, the widespread 5G rollouts, or expanding media consumption habits, and just rising demand for both consumer and industrial AV systems. And remember that overall market opportunity we mentioned, projecting to reach a massive $29.33 billion by 2033.
29 billion, that's huge for connectors.
Yeah, it really is. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the size of the entire economy of a country like, say, Estonia or maybe Jordan, all focused on these seemingly small connections. So it really indicates significant opportunities for stakeholders across the board, manufacturers, investors, everyone involved.
We've definitely seen how the global audio and video connectors market is experiencing this uh, robust and sustained growth, driven by everything from your personal streaming habits at home to these massive industrial and telecommunications projects happening worldwide. It really is a testament to how deeply integrated audio and video have become in, well, pretty much every aspect of our lives.
Absolutely. And considering this projected growth, getting close to $30 billion by 2033, and thinking about the rapid pace of innovation in tech generally, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What future audio video experiences are we kind of on the cusp of? And how might our need for connectors evolve in ways we can perhaps barely imagine today? Will we always need physical connectors? Or will wireless technologies truly take over at some point? And maybe more importantly for this discussion, what would that mean for a market currently so reliant on physical connections? Food for thought, perhaps.
Have you ever actually stopped to think about what powers your 8K nature documentaries
Mm.
or those super fast online games, even just like clear video calls? I mean, these tiny little bits, often totally hidden, connecting everything so you get that perfect sound and picture. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are these hidden heroes making our digital lives feel so seamless? So today we're doing a deep dive into something that, okay, maybe sounds a bit niche at first, but it's absolutely vital: the global audio and video connectors market. Seriously, they might hide in plain sight, but trust me, these components are the backbone of digital media, electronics, everything.
Right. And our goal here, our sort of mission for this deep dive is to, well, pull back the curtain a bit. We want to show you why these connectors are actually pretty fascinating. We'll look at the forces driving the market, the innovations, even the challenges. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding something really fundamental to modern life, even if you barely notice it day to day.
Exactly. And, given how crucial they are, but how little we think about them, what are the big forces making this market tick? Are there any surprises?
Well, the first one, maybe the most obvious, is something you probably have right in your living room or maybe your pocket. It's the massive explosion in consumer electronics. I mean, just think about it. TVs, gaming consoles, home theater systems, all that portable audio gear. These aren't luxuries anymore. They're pretty standard everywhere.
Oh, totally. My house has, I swear, more cables than I know what to do with. But what's the real impact? It's not just about making more cables, is it?
That's a really good point. It's not just volume. This huge adoption, it creates this relentless demand for perfect performance, zero compromises. Like consumers expect completely immersive, smooth experiences, no glitches, no lag. And that pressure forces manufacturers to constantly develop better, higher performance connectors, ones that ensure stable, clear signals. They're essentially fighting physics to deliver invisible perfection. That's the key thing.
Okay, so quality over just quantity. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just our homes. What about the professional world?
Absolutely. That's another huge driver. The growth in professional AV and broadcasting is, well, it's exponential. We're talking about everything from like massive concerts, virtual conferences linking people globally, digital classrooms, high-end film production.
Yeah, and the stakes there must be way higher. A single bad connection during a live broadcast could be disastrous.
Precisely. And that's the insight here. Reliability is non-negotiable. Professional grade connectors, they have to deliver signal clarity, they need to be durable, handle different formats. Think about a concert venue or a TV studio or even a big corporate boardroom. Performance isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely critical. They need stuff that just works every single time, even with heavy use.
And all this talk about perfect picture and sound, it naturally brings us to, well, the technology itself. HD, 4K, now 8K video, high fidelity audio. That's changed everything.
It really has. I mean, how do you even get that much data from A to B without losing anything? That drives this intense need for more advanced signal transmission. Connectors like HDMI, DisplayPort, optical audio, they're constantly evolving. They need to handle much higher bandwidth. Think of it like a bigger data pipe.
Mhm.
More data flowing means we get that amazing 8K video or lossless audio without hiccups. It's really setting new standards everywhere for consumers and industry.
Okay, so booming demand, incredible tech advances. Sounds great. But Like any market, there must be bumps in the road. Hurdles. What's one of the big headaches?
Oh, yeah, there are definitely challenges. I think almost everyone listening has felt the pain of compatibility issues, right? That frantic search for the right adapter when you just want to connect something. It really hits home. As new connectors become standard, they often just don't work with older gear.
Mm-mm. Tell me about it. The dongle life, as they call it. Yeah. It's real.
It is. And for you, the listener, this isn't just annoying. In bigger places, it causes real problems. You get these mixed technology setups that are hard to manage. You need adapters, maybe even full system upgrades. And that extra cost and hassle, it can really slow things down, especially for places like schools or hospitals with tight budgets and lots of existing equipment. It's a real drag.
That's a really good point about the bigger picture. But speaking of challenges, what about the elephant in the room? Wireless, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It seems like everything's going cordless. Isn't that a direct threat to wired connectors? How does the market handle that?
That's a huge question. And yeah, it's a profound challenge. Wireless is definitely becoming the norm for a lot of audio and video streaming, especially with phones, smart speakers, smart home stuff. People just love the convenience. So, looking long term, yeah, the demand for traditional wired connectors, especially for everyday consumers, it's facing a steady decline. It forces the wired folks to really think about where their value lies now.
Okay, and one more challenge. Price. Particularly in emerging markets, right? People often go for the cheapest option.
Exactly. In regions where budgets are really tight, businesses, individuals, they'll often choose generic, low-cost connectors. And the consequence is pretty straightforward. Yeah, they're affordable, but they often lack durability. They don't have the high performance features. So that premium end of the market, the really good stuff for pro AV, broadcasting, specialized industrial, it struggles to get a foothold in those areas. It kind of creates this two-tier system where quality isn't always the priority, leading to, well, stuff breaking or just not working optimally.
It's definitely complex, but the market isn't just, rolling over. It's adapting, innovating. What's one of the most visible ways connectors are changing?
Well, one of the most obvious trends is definitely miniaturization. I mean, look how thin laptops are now, wearables, phones, everything's shrinking. And it's not just about looks, it's about portability, fitting more tech into smaller spaces.
All right, so the connectors have to shrink too, which sounds like a massive engineering feat, packing all that performance into something tiny.
It really is, but the genius isn't just making them small, it's making them smaller and more versatile. Think about USB-C, it's tiny, yeah, but it handles power, data, video, all through one little port. That kind of integration, it's a quiet revolution. It simplifies things for us, gives amazing functionality without taking up space. It's pretty clever stuff.
USB-C is a great example.
Okay.
Okay, what else? Beyond just size, I hear talk about specialized materials like gold plating or shielding. Why is that important?
Yeah, that's another key area. And it's not just for looks, like you said. These materials really matter. Gold plating, for example, improves conductivity and resists corrosion over time. Shielding protects the signal from outside interference. Basically, it ensures signal integrity. What goes in one end comes out the other perfectly. That's critical for, say, a long cable run or in noisy environments. So manufacturers are focusing on build quality because in many applications, reliability just isn't negotiable.
That makes total sense. Okay, and wrapping up the trends, it sounds like it's not just about standard parts anymore. Custom solutions are becoming a bigger deal.
Exactly right. OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, and system integrators, they're increasingly looking for connectors tailored specifically for their needs. Think about car infotainment systems, which are getting super complex, or embedded systems in the Internet of Things, industrial AV, even advanced robotics. They need specific solutions. And modular designs, ones that can handle both old analog and new digital signals, are making it way easier and more efficient to build these complex systems. It's all about flexibility and future-proofing.
Hmm.
So when you connect all these dots, you see that despite the challenges, despite wireless, despite changing tastes, the audio and video connector market is actually really resilient. It's dynamic, full of innovation. It's constantly adapting and, quietly enabling so much of our digital world.
It really is. You've got the push from consumer electronics, the pull from professional AV, and this constant engine of tech innovation. It seems clear this market is set up for continued growth, continued adaptation for years to come. It's just fascinating how these tiny things have such a huge global impact.
Yeah, so maybe next time you plug in a cable, just take a second. Think about how these small, intricate bits are silently shaping how you get information, how you're entertained. And here's a thought. As wireless gets better and better, what new areas will wired connectors dominate? Where does that extreme reliability or speed or maybe niche application give them an edge that wireless just can't match? How might their sort of unseen evolution keep enabling technologies we haven't even dreamed up yet? Something to think about.